It's that time of year again when the veil grows thinner. Time for a little divination. How about creating a magical black scrying mirror? Well, come on over to the Magical Cottage Witchy Craft room and I'll show you how. Hi there. Thanks for stopping by the Witchy Craft room. Today we're going to be working on making a black scrying mirror. Hello. Welcome to the Witchy Craft room, and I'm going to go over the supplies you need to make a magical black mirror for scrying. First of all, you're going to need a picture frame, and you can choose the style and the size that you want for your black mirror. However, do make sure that you have a glass insert to go inside, because this is what's going to make the black mirror. Okay, you're going to be painting the glass to make that mirror, so make sure that it fits inside of there. A lot of picture frames come with a glass insert, so it makes it a lot easier if you find one. Now you might choose like a really cool Victorian style or a frame that's already decorated, but today I'm going to decorate the frame myself, so that'll be an added feature of this video. However, you know, if you just want to use the frame that you got plain, that'd be fine. Also, you want to have some kind of a backing that will hold that glass in place, and a piece of felt that will go against the glass that's cut to size, because these metal things at the back could scratch your black paint off of your glass, and that'll spoil the effect of your black mirror. So you want it to be really deep and black, and you don't want any light to show through from the other side. So you got your frame, your glass, the piece of cardboard or whatever it came with to hold it in place, and a piece of black felt. You're also going to need some black spray paint, and you want black matte spray paint. You don't want glossy, okay? And then for my project, I'm going to need a glue gun, some fake eyeballs, some Willow glue, and water to mix with it. And then I've also got some tissue paper that I'm going to use to make an adornment for my mirror. So let's get going. Let's go over to my garage and I will show you how to paint the glass for the mirror. Okay, so here we go with the first coat. And it's best to do a light coating on each layer as opposed to a heavy coat. So here's my light coat. I want to make it even too. So there's my first coat, and even it out a little over there. And then I'm going to come back. After this one dries, I'll come back and do a second coat, and after that one dries, a third coat. So you can see how the glass turned out. Here's the matte side. That's the side that I painted. And if you turn it over, you will see the glossy side, and that is the black mirror side. That's the part that you'll be looking into when the whole thing is assembled. So for the time being, I'm going to put it over to the side where it will be safe, because I don't want to get anything on the surface of my black mirror. That part's all done. Now, if you have a really cool picture frame and you don't want to decorate it, you don't have to, but I'm going to add some decorations or adornments to my frame, and I got It's near Halloween time, so I picked up some of these fake eyeballs. It's a really great time of year to pick up things for craft supplies if you're going to be making some witchy craft projects. And so I'll take my hot glue and I'm going to put the eyeball right up at the top of my picture frame. Kind of like the eyeball in on the Book of Shadows in the movie Hocus Pocus. It's kind of what it's supposed to be reminiscent of. And now you can create some really cool effects with the hot glue itself. And I'm going to be adding some tendrils and other designs all around the frame. Might even put in a spider web or two. And so I'm going to work on these decorations. And as the glue cools, it will harden and make a raised area on the picture frame. That's going to be covered over later on, but this just gives you a base for your designs that will later be covered with a tissue paper, will hold glue, and water covering. So you can just keep going all around. That's what I'm going to do, and create my design all around the picture frame, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here I have finished with my hot glue design. And I've got some tendrils and some spider webs. And it's just about cool now, so the hot glue has created these ridges. There's my spider web I created. And I got the tendrils going all around the edges. And I got some more spider webs up in the corners here. And if you don't like what you did, you can always scrape it off and start over again. So now I am going to be working with my will hold glue and water solution. It's a couple of tablespoons of will hold glue, and you dilute it with a couple of tablespoons of water. And I'm dipping some white tissue paper that I have just torn into strips. And this actually makes a pretty good modeling compound. And it's sort of an inexpensive way to make a type of a compound that you can create shapes with. I mean, you could even create some fatter things. If you wanted something fatter like a snake or something, you could create that out of this tissue paper solution. But right now I'm going to try to make a base around the eyeball. And then I'm going to create eyelids around it. Everything looks kind of rough in the beginning, but you just keep working with it. The lower lid comes first, and then the larger upper lid, and it will, the corners of the upper lid overlap the lower lid a little bit. And then I'll be able to go over the rest of the design with my tissue paper, glue, water, covering solution, and that's actually going to make those ridges from the hot glue stand out a little bit more and give it sort of an interesting surface too. So you see I got to start on that eyeball. I'm going to work on it some more, build up the eyelids, and then cover the rest of the frame with that tissue paper solution. I want to be sure that I don't mix up too much of this glue water solution. Just do it in small batches. If you're interrupted, then you can always come back and add some more. You don't need to rush through it. Take your time when you're working on a craft project. And as I said, you know, if you want to do something over again, just back up and do it over again. Here I'm going to go with more tissue paper to cover up the designs all around the edge. Do it in strips. You know, some people might like to take your little, it's handy to have a little spongy brush like this to work with, but you can set the tissue paper on and paint the glue and water solution over the top if that's easier, or just dip it in there and mold it on. I kind of like to get in there, and I'm not worried about getting my hands dirty when I'm working on a project. And smooth it out with your fingertips. Work with it. And poke, you can use your fingernails or any other kind of tool you want to smooth it out. You do want to smooth it and make kind of a rustic old antique type surface as you're going. Okay, so I've got this all covered with my tissue paper and glue water solution. And the ridges from the hot glue are really showing up pretty nicely. I've got the spider webs I've created. I created one spider web at the bottom and a couple more up in the corners. And you can see what it looks like now. You see how those hot glue designs are really showing through? And to make a spider web, you can just make some concentric arches, circle if you're going to center your spider web. If it's in a corner, you're going to do some concentric half circles or semicircles and then have some lines radiating out to create a spider web. You can see that I worked on those eyelids, on the eyeball a little bit more. And it, you know, if it looks like it's kind of bugging out, that's okay. It makes it look a little more eerie, a little more fun. And I forgot to mention that there is one more supply that you're going to be needing, and that would be some acrylic paint. And you're going to use it to kind of antique things. So I'll experiment a little bit. I'm either going to use a dark brown or a black, and that's going to bring out those lines even more, and it's going to make it look kind of old and antique-y and more witchy. Okay, so once again, there's the spider web and the tendrils and the eyeball. And we're going to have to let this dry at least overnight, probably. So once it's completely dry, we'll be able to put the final coat on there and assemble our black mirror. Okay, well, everything's pretty dry now, and I actually started to paint this surface with some watered down black acrylic paint, and it's starting to look pretty good. I'm going to keep going over this with a wash. I've done a couple of layers on this section. Now I'm going to continue with that black paint. Remember that the covering here of the tissue paper and water and will hold glue is water soluble, and you're putting more water on top. So go lightly over the surface, and don't scrub on it a lot, or you could end up taking some of your coating off, your tissue paper coating. So very gently go over it with the water and the paint solution. And so I'm going to finish this up, and then I will show you how I will add some more detail to all the marks, the ridges, the designs, and really bring out that design. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, I pretty much covered this with my black paint wash, and this was actually a very watery black paint. Okay, it's called a wash, and that's when you're just going to do a very thin layer of color over something. You don't want it to be solid color. If I had just put straight black paint on here, then the whole thing would have been painted black, and I wanted some things to show through, but I'd still like to see a little more detail come out. So I'm going to do something called dry brush, and what you do is you're going to get a brush, and it helps to have another surface like a paper towel or something to wipe some of the paint off. And let's see how this works. If I clean off some of that paint, and then I'm going to this is a smaller brush I'm using, just kind of go over the tops of those ridges. And this is a silver acrylic paint. I just want to get the tiniest amount of paint on there and just hit the high points. I'll give a suggestion of where those lines are going to go. When I did my wash, I wanted to remind you to remember to go inside the frame here and on the outside edges. You want to get it to all kind of blend together. So I'm going to work on dry brushing with the silver paint, and you'll see how it comes out in a minute. Also, I also did my wash on the surface of the eyeball. So everywhere where I put the covering of the tissue paper and glue water, I went over that with my black wash. So I'm going to work on this for a few minutes, and you'll see the effect of the silver paint now. Okay, I got my silver paint on, and now I'm going back with a liner brush, which is a really small brush, and I lined the eyes. Let me see if I can hold that up so you can see it. Put a little eyeliner on there. I put a little bit of I put some of the silver on the eyelid, and then I lined the eyes. And now I'm going back and I'm defining the curve a little bit more with the black paint and evening that out. And so the very last part is just focusing in on the details and making it exactly the way you want it to look. Okay, you can see now that I've got my mirror assembled, my black mirror. It's got a lovely, deep, reflective area for scrying. And I did have to go back over a lot of the areas and fill in with the black and really try to make a lot more shadow on the So as I said, take your time. I like to paint a lot, so I have a variety of paint brushes that I keep around, and there's ones that have a flatter head on them, and then I have some fine line pens. But as I said, your mirror doesn't have to be as elaborate as this. I had fun making this project, and I hope you enjoy putting together your own magic mirror, whether it has a frame that you decorated, or maybe even just somewhat decorated, or if you just found a frame that you absolutely loved and you wanted that for your black mirror. Have a great time creating your black mirror. And if you want to learn about how to use your black scrying mirror and how to actually scry with it, pop on over to my blog on www.themagicalcottage.com. The same, it's in my my description here on YouTube, so the link should be there. And while you're there, subscribe to my blog and subscribe to this YouTube channel, and I'll have lots more fun witchcraft ideas to come. Bright blessings.